Hello, hello, hello. What is going on, mi gente? Let's go. It is Tuesday. I am overly excited, not only because we have an amazing guest, but as you guys know, the hurricane came through here, threw everybody off, and I missed y'all. Like, I really missed you guys. And so I'm super grateful to be back with power, be back here talking to you all. It is Tuesday, 8 p.m. EST. And as you know, you are on the Speak Easy with Idylli show. Yes! And I'm so excited, you guys. So excited to be back. I'm so excited for our incredible guests. I'm so excited for the future. I mean, listen, mi gente, 2025 is right there. It's around the corner. I promise you, if you have not heard Mariah yet, she's coming. And once you hear, ya se fue el año. The year is over, okay? And so enjoy every single moment that you have. Again, I am so excited. If you don't hear it in my voice, if you don't feel that energy, check your pulse, baby. Check your pulse, okay? Because it is coming through your camera today on the Speak Easy with Idylli show. I really don't have any announcements. Like you guys know, every week I have this big announcement. I really don't because I'm just flowing. I'm really in my energy, in my moment, just really getting ready for 2025. Actually, I do have one announcement. Sunday, you will catch me live on YouTube at the Crossover 813. So if you have not been to Crossover 813, definitely go on YouTube Sunday at 9 a.m. Excuse me, 10 a.m. EST and at 11:45. You will catch me on there live. I'm really excited about that. But other than that, I'm just really in my zen, really finding my way, really just focusing on the next three. It's still about 2.5 months now, but on these next 90 days for that 2025 next level in January, right? And if you are not planning your goals as of now, you're late. Let's just be real. I'm going to be honest, right? We don't even talk about goals in January because we ain't them kind of people. But if you are not planning them right now and you're waiting till November, you're already late. So let's go. If you need help with that, holla at your girl. I got you. But it is time for the next level. Now, I am super excited. Like I said, I have a special guest tonight, and I'm really, really excited to bring her on. So, she is an incredible leader. She's an amazing person. She has the sweetest soul. I heard her speak at the first ever Tampa's Creators Conference, and I said, I gotta have her on the show. Like my guests, my audience, all of you people that always join us every week have to hear her story. It's an incredible story. She's been on an incredible journey, and I'm super, super excited that she is on here today telling her story. So make sure that when she comes up, you give her love, you comment, you share. Those of you watching on the replay, y'all know I love my replay people, right? Make sure you give her a follow. Make sure that, I know you're going to love her story. So nevertheless, I'm going to bring her on. Miss Jasmin, are you here?
Hello.
Hi. Okay, there you are. Hey, what's up, girl?
I saw myself freeze there and I was like, oh,
Me too. And I was like,
bro.
How are you?
I am good and I'm super excited to be here with everyone.
Oh, yes. And so are we. We are so excited to have you. I love your story. I love how you fell in love with our city. We'll get a little bit more into that a little later, but I want let's have a conversation. Let's just talk about it, right? And so tell me, Jasmin, where are you from? Where are your brothers and sisters, like things like that? Talk to me about how you grew up.
Yes. So we're in a therapy session now. Yes. Okay. So
you're on the couch. You're on the couch. Soon it will be a real couch and I'll have you back then too.
Right. So I am originally from New York City, Brooklyn to be exact. And I am Puerto Rican, 100%. And so there are a lot of people in Bushwick who are Puerto Rican. And so there was a very strong sense of culture, the food, the music, the dancing, all of the things. And so I grew up very extroverted and in a place of like, you get up, you dance, you're sharing your experience, sharing how you feel. And so I grew up really having a
Bien Boricua, right?
right,
Bien
right,
Boricua.
so much. And I, was very expressive. And if I was upset, you knew, even as a child.
Right.
And so I have two older siblings, and they're 12 and 14 years older than me. So I basically,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I basically have the only child syndrome because they were
Yes.
almost out the house by the time I was born.
Mm. You know what's crazy? I have an 8-year-old and I tell him all the time, I'm like, listen, I know you have brothers and sisters, but it's like you're an only child. You got to learn how to entertain yourself because
Right.
they're older. My daughter's 18. My son's 20. He's 8. Like, I'm sorry, Papa. Like, you're on your own here, buddy.
They're not trying to play with you. So,
Yes, exactly.
so I had to learn to like really entertain myself. And that's really where that came from. And I started like, I lived in the projects, right? So there were neighbors all around. You could hear people yelling from the other apartments. And so I would get into the hallway with all the little kids and start teaching them for whatever reason. Like I really thought I wanted to be a teacher. And then I realized, yes. And then I realized how much they got paid. And I was like, you know what?
Maybe
I
not.
don't think that's for me.
I know.
Right? But like,
you know what? And listen, shout out to all my teachers that watch and they do it because I know they do it in passion. And some of them have to have part-time jobs. I've even interviewed a teacher who had like this whole side business because she has to. They don't get paid, right? They don't get paid. It's unfair, but they don't get paid.
Yeah. And then even, it doesn't matter where you work now. I think that 2020 and COVID have really shown people that you are one income away from having zero if you only have one job. So when I meet people, generally they have multiple things going on. And that's, part of why I started all of my, online presences because you have passion and interest in certain things. And it's like, why not pursue those things, right? Because you have time. There's time that you're like watching Netflix or there's time that you're scrolling. Why not create the content instead of consuming it 100% of the time? And so,
hold on. That's a nugget. Listen, you heard our girl. She already dropping gems that she just started, okay? She said, why not create the content, right? Like, let's go. That is so good because we're literally sitting here consuming. They call it being a consumer for a reason. Look up the definition of what a consumer is, right? So that's why you're a consumer. So we're over here consuming when we're literally meant to be creating. So that's incredible. I love that. So you're growing up in New York, you're making friends, and that's the way that you're entertaining yourself from being the only child, right? And so where you go to school, what did you end up doing? Did you end up getting a job there? And what happened there?
Yeah, so I did all of the things that you're supposed to do. I went to school. I did the after school situation. I played clarinet. I got good grades. I was the valedictorian in junior high school. And then I went to high school, and high school is a bit different, right? And then you feel this coming of age. You think you're grown.
Yeah,
especially
in the big city.
I started taking the train to high school.
Exactly.
You couldn't do anything. I was grown.
Right.
And then then you get that freedom, right? Because your parents aren't around. And I started exploring. And that's basically what happened. Through high school, I was exploring. And so I thought then I wanted to be a lawyer because I was very outspoken. And then I realized that they go to school for a longer amount of time to commit.
Right.
And then I went to, in college, I went to Baruch College, which is a college that basically is, you go there when you want to learn about business. And it is a CUNY school, so it is more affordable because I was paying it out of pocket. At this point, so we skipped a little bit, but I had issues with my mother, and so she kicked me out. So at 18, I was living on my own, like renting out a room with 3 strangers in there with me, and paying for school, paying for rent, and all of those things. So I had to be
one of those, you had to make it work. Like it wasn't an option. It wasn't that your mom was like yelling at you, but still bringing you food. You know what I mean? You know how that is, right? You're an adult still living in the household. And no, it was like you're 18. But let me tell you, let me already explain something. Mi gente, if you didn't catch this in her story, and Jasmin to understand that the resilience that was already being built inside you, because most people don't choose that. Most people choose the streets, right? I was one of them, right? And most people don't go that route, right? But you were like, no, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna pay for school. I'm gonna work, and I'm gonna do what I gotta do.
Right.
I love that.
So I was, and that honestly, that is 100% true. Like resilience is a character builder. Like having all of those things, it builds your character to the point that I felt almost like untouchable. Like you can't tell me anything because I've been through it. I've done all these things and I made it through, right? And so made it through college. Was working through college so I was working through college full time, a 9 to 5. Then I was going to school from 6 to 10. And then on the weekends, I was also like bartending.
Yeah.
So I was doing what needed to be done and
Right.
whatever. And it wasn't the best time in life.
But no, I'm sure it was hard. You were tired, you know, you're stressed. You feel like you felt like you were losing your life, but in all naturality, you were gaining it, right? Because a lot of us, like mom, the opposite, like I wasted that time. So now I'm trying to do those things that you were doing back then. You know what I mean? Like, so there is that vice versa that we don't really realize. Like if you do all of this in your young age, it might feel like you're losing. So you young people who are watching, listen closely, right? You might feel like you're losing, but really you're not. And so you're going through this process, you're being resilient, you're growing. And then on top of that, you're having to heal because I'm sure it was not easy not having a good relationship with your mom.
Yeah, well, the healing didn't come at this point because what I turned to was alcohol. And so I was like, at any moment that I wasn't working or in school, actually a little bit in school, I was drinking. Like, so I had gone to classes and I was intoxicated and all of that. And so I think that I really turned to alcohol to comfort me because I felt unsupported. Like, you know, me and my mom, my parents, we have, you know, worked through those things, but it took years to get to that. Right. And so there was a lot of stuff that I didn't even realize was trauma. It was just my life and it just was what it was. And I never thought, oh, this was a traumatic experience. Oh, this really affected me. I didn't grow up knowing myself, my body in that way, my thought process in that way. And so I didn't even think about that until my mid-20s at that point. They're having multiple failed relationships and toxicness.
Yes.
I was like, wait, hold on.
Like this can't be right. Like this can't be it. Like, there's something there, right? And I love how you said that because especially us as Boricuas, and you know, I know that you know other people can feel me, but I understand this because you know, in the Puerto Rican household, like it was like nothing was talked about, everything's kept under the rug. Like you don't really, you know, discuss things, right? They just happen and then that's it, right? You have to deal, manage, you know, whatever, hold it inside. And then, like you said, you grow up and then all of a sudden it's like, no way, there's got to be something more. There's got to be something different. Let me ask you, what was that biggest transition for you? Like when, like you said, like was it after the last boyfriend that you know, was it after the last thing? What was that thing where you said, no, there's got to be some healing that's got to happen?
So it was actually one of my coworkers, and I called him at the time. I called him like my work husband, and he was really good at helping me advocate for myself at work. And so a conversation came up where I was up for a promotion and we weren't talking about what the salary compensation would be for that promotion. And I kept saying to him like, oh, I want more, but I don't know how to approach it. And he was like, girl, this is how much you're going to ask for. And you're going to go back and forth with them because they're going to say no to you the first time. And we had this conversation and what he said was in fact what happened. They pushed back. I pushed back again and I got closer to the number that I wanted, right?
Yes.
And so we're talking about this. He was like just one of those good souls that you have in your life. There are people just come into your life for, you know, it's not always the entirety of your life, but for a season where you really need them. And I will always appreciate him for that because Because of that conversation, we started talking about other things, including relationships. And he said, I have a therapist and she's really been helping me with my relationship and my issues. Maybe you should, go to her or try someone, because I had always had the thought that this is the thing, right? So in my family and, in the community, Caribbean communities, it's taboo, or it's better now, but like
Yes.
10 years ago,
Yeah.
it was
worse.
you
Yeah.
didn't talk about. It seems to be a little more cool now, but
Yeah.
back then you didn't talk about it. And so in my mind, I had like this stuffy older person that wouldn't be able to relate to me or would judge me for everything that I say that I'm doing. And so I just had no interest in it. And he was like, no, she's cool. She's down. She'll like understand, whatever. And so I saw her, and from the first moment, I just felt so seen, right? And so I've seen multiple therapists after that, and each therapist has kind of helped me through different things. And I'm actually with a new therapist now, and we're working through things that I thought I had fixed with the first therapist.
Okay.
And she's like, yeah, girl,
therapy is
it's like this. You really
right. And
like,
it is.
So
It is just when we think we get there, right? But here's the thing. I believe we'll never get there, right? But I always say I'll die trying, right?
right.
However, it's different when you at least know this versus it's just downhill and there's not, all the way to the bottom because we're still here, but like there's no, like there's nothing, right? And so I'd rather live this knowing that there's a high, that there's something else to go to, than versus this is what it is. I got to keep my mouth shut and I just got to deal with it. Yeah. Like that's just not cool.
And what therapy really did for me, that is the thing that I tell people that aren't interested or are concerned about it or whatever, is that the best thing that therapy did for me is that you have like a baseline of like what your worst is, or how you feel your worst, or your most negative thought, or that mood that you get in that you don't want to be around people, that you might like yell at people, right? That baseline after doing therapy lifted up, right? So my worst today is like a rainbow compared to my worst before.
10 years ago. Oh my God, that is so good.
And that's the thing that I'm like, my baseline completely changed and lifted up. And I just can't even see. I look back at the girl that I was, like, all the trauma that shows up in everything.
It does.
And I think back at all the things that I did, the things that I tolerated, all of the situations, the situations that I put myself in. And I see the scared little girl that made that decision, and I just don't even know that person anymore. And so that's how it's really helped me. And that's what I would say to people who are like thinking about it, or think they're really against it, because I think therapy is for literally every single person. And the younger you go to therapy, the less that you'll have to work through, right? And so when I went in my mid-20s, I have 25, 26, 27 years of baggage.
Right. Versus if you start going early, now you're working through the stages as you go, versus trying to fix all that from the past and then still go through the stages, because you're still going through stuff, right?
Right. And they give you tools so that you can react better as you're, growing up and dealing with things. So,
well, you brought up a really good point, and I want to stress this because I talk about this all the time. It's actually literally in a book that's coming out shortly, Self-Worth versus Self-Confidence. It's not a book I'm writing. I'm just a part of an anthology, not taken away from it, but I'm just saying, like, I don't want people to think, oh, she's writing a book now. No, not yet. I'm not writing a book, right? But I am a part of an anthology, and in my part of it, it's confidence versus self-worth, right? And I talk about that because it's just like you said, like, even from like, okay, I dated the cutest boy in high school, but he cheated on me and I put up with it because I was confident, but I didn't have that self-worth. You see what I'm saying? Where I knew there was boundaries where like, no, you can't do that. Like, you can't talk. When I started realizing whose I am and really having my self-worth, it's like, you can't talk to me like that no more. Like, there's certain things, even to my husband, and he knows it. I'm transparent. we've been together almost 20 years. Now it's like, nah, bro, you can't talk to me like that anymore, right? Like there's certain things that we don't allow. So I'm so glad that you brought that up because it is your worst moment 10 years ago is like rainbows right now.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That is a beautiful thing.
And
And therapy is everything.
And it helped my relationship with my parents too, because one, I was able to
Mm.
forgive them. They didn't even know that I was struggling with all of these things. They didn't know that them kicking me out really traumatized me. And it's like, right. And you think like, what do you mean they didn't know? That's a
Right.
traumatizing thing.
Right.
But
Right.
people like this is
They're to themselves. We think they know, but they don't.
They are in their own world. Even
Mhm.
your mom, your uncle, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, people that you think should know, they are
Yep.
so in their own head with their own
Yep.
shit
Stuff.
that
Yeah,
they,
exactly.
they cannot comprehend any of your stuff. And so
That's so true.
therapy allowed me to forgive them without them even knowing that there was anything to forgive. It allowed me to be able to feel comfortable to talk to them.
Yeah.
And it also allowed me, because they still have things that they haven't resolved within themselves, but
Right.
I'm able to see it, acknowledge it, but not take it personal. So it's like, oh,
Yes.
okay, you're in this mood. Cool.
That's
Think I'm
has
gonna go.
nothing to do with me. Exactly.
Think it's
Oh,
time for me to go.
isn't that a breakthrough? Jasmine, isn't that such a breakthrough? Like
Yes.
when you can be in a place and it's either a toxic situation or there's something going on, but you can personally not take it personal and understand that it's not you, it is the other person or whatever they got going on, but not tell them, not be like, oh, it's all you, not me, but just be like, hey, that is such a freeing moment.
Yes.
That is such a freeing.
Freeing is the exact word that I feel it as I'm even talking about it, because it was something that I was so ingrained in. Like I would like want to argue back, and it's like,
Right,
no,
right. Because we're ready for defense. We're not
right,
even listening to understand. We're listening to respond, right? Because we're
right.
still trying to like,
For
what did you
that
say? What?
rebuttal.
Wait a minute, what'd you say? Because you're ready, right? You're ready, right? But it becomes really different as that freeing. And I love that. Okay, so you go through this journey, you're in your healing process, right? You're not where you were 10 years ago, but you're not where you're going to be yet. And you're living in New York. You finally finished school. Did you finish school?
I finished school.
Good for you. Okay, you finished school. Then what? What did you do then?
So we graduated, we had a job, we went to a different job. And then at this job is when I started the therapy journey, got a promotion. And from that promotion, I was trying to figure out what the next step was, right? So I had received the promotion. It was a significant amount of money, but I wanted a title to
Mm,
right? And I was
mm-hmm.
talking to my boss, and I had worked with her for several years, so I felt comfortable. And so I said, what do you think I need to move to the next step? And she said, you should get your master's. And let me tell you, one thing I didn't want to do was get my master's.
Like,
Okay.
that's why I'm not a lawyer.
Right. Right. I don't like school. Like I
Right,
just, no.
right.
But guess what this girl did? So we had that conversation in November, I want to say, and I was signed up January. I had taken my GMAT to be able to go to apply to master's programs. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to do my MBA or MPA. I was in a nonprofit at the time, and so the nonprofit and or government version of an MBA is an MPA.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I decided to go to my MPA because the MBA program had a lot more math than I wanted to partake in.
Mm,
And there's similar classes aside
yeah,
from the extra math. And so
right.
I did that, and I graduated during COVID. So we were not physically together.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
realized that I did not love that. And
Mm,
and I was living in New York, and I realized the way a lot of people realized, right? 2020 was a
yeah,
reckoning for everybody.
yes,
People
yes.
divorced because they realized they didn't want to be with their partner. People left jobs. People lost jobs. People created new jobs. All of these things happened because people realized that their time was important and they cared about their health and their body and their mental health and their well-being, and they decided to make changes. And so a lot of people moved, including myself. And we wanted to like figure out, I feel like there was like a huge revolution of like people figuring out what made them happy and just more toward that.
Right. And let me tell you before you move forward. So I want to say this because it's so true. Like a lot of us feel like, yeah, we know where y'all went over here. Because so many people,
because y'all were living your best life. We were miserable everywhere else. And Florida was like,
okay, and like, come on in, right?
Living your best life. So yeah.
It was like an unopened invitation, like there's this party that you really want to go to, but you weren't invited, but it's going to be good. So you make your way there,
You got to go through the window, bypass the security guard. Yep, that's what
Right. I love it. So you decide to move to Tampa. Now, let me ask, was it because we were free? Did you know somebody here, or did you were just like, no, I want to go there because of the everything?
So I always knew that I did not want to stay in New York. When I grew up, so like I think now people in Florida feel this way of like things are very expensive and you can't really get bang for your buck. But in New York,
it was always like
that was always the way it was.
Right.
So like that's why I said when I first got kicked out from my parents' house, I was with roommates.
Right. There's no other way.
That's 4 people in a whole ass apartment. That's crazy. Like
people in New York apartments, we all know are not like here, 2,000 square foot.
One bathroom.
You're talking little box, one bathroom. Yeah.
Like crazy.
I get it. Yeah.
Crazy. And so when you're looking to buy a house, you know that you need to have a significant amount of money saved because the smallest house is $1 million. And so what happened is that I realized I didn't want to live where I was currently living. And I knew that I wanted to own. I also knew that my preference wasn't to stay in New York, but my entire family was in New York. So my immediate wasn't to move yet. What happened is that in 2020, everybody wanted to buy a house and there were bidding wars and you had to bid 20, 30, 40K above asking. And I realized that New York was not in my budget.
Right.
And I always knew that I wanted to have warm weather. So like, I hate the winter. I hate cold weather. I hate everything about it. And so every winter I would literally say to myself, like, why do I live here where my face hurts? Like, that makes no sense. And even now, like we moved to Florida, I don't go back to New York when it's cold. I go back in the summer or fall.
Yeah.
When it's cold. And if you make me go when it's cold, I'm staying in the house.
Yeah.
So that's that. So
you fit the tropical weather, girl. You look very tropical. You fit it perfectly. Okay.
Yes. The sun loves me and I love it back. And so we moved. Oh no. What happened is that I knew I wanted to leave to Florida. The 2 options were Florida or Cali because of weather. Those were the 2 options, weather and access.
Cali was super expensive too.
Right. So it's the accessibility to the beach, nature, and then warmth and the sun.
That's one thing I love about Tampa. So I feel the same. Like I drove Uber for a few years ago, like right after COVID. And I would ask people, like, even before the moving for COVID, like, what made you stay here? And they were like, oh, school or this or that, Tampa. And what I really figured is that Tampa, you get the best of everything. If you want city life, it's right there. If you want the beach, it's right there. If you want country, the spring, the foresty life, you can get that too. Like, it's a little bit of everything. And so when you put it all together, it just makes this melting, amazing, right, area where you can just have the best of both worlds, right? And so I get it. And I don't, listen, this is me talking. I've been here since the 90s. I didn't always feel like that, girl. When I moved here, you needed a car to go anywhere. Everything was far. There was nothing around. All these little stuff. They did not have that. Tampa has grown to this. Okay. So I have grown to feel this way about the city, right? Because at first I was like, oh my God, I hate Tampa, right? Because again, you couldn't do anything. But it has grown into an amazing city. So you decide you're going to move here. You're like, okay, I'm moving to Tampa.
So what happened was that we were trying to decide. So my boyfriend was really trying to go to Cali, but Cali is very difficult because of, I mean, one, it's expensive, but I knew traveling wise, my family wouldn't visit me if I'm 6 hours away. And then the other issue was the time zone difference. I didn't want to have to adjust. So then it was Florida. And the only place, so I had never been to Tampa. So the only place I thought I would move to was Miami. So the plan to move to Miami, we go to visit.
My Miami people watching, but
we go to Miami and I'm like, oh, Miami isn't how it used to be when I used to come here and I was 21, 22. It was different, or I was different. I don't know, but it didn't align.
Yeah.
And my boyfriend had one cousin who lives here. And so he said, oh, you know, let's visit there. And we came for a week. By day 2, I was like, oh my God, we're moving here. And he was so against it. He was like, no, like that, you're rushing to make a decision. And I was like, let's get a realtor. We found my realtor, Lauren, love her. And she walked us through a couple of places, and the last place that we had is the building we live in now. Absolutely love it. Floor to ceiling windows, just like a dream. And we made an offer and we moved here 30 days later.
Wow. I love that. I love that. And so you had basically a one night stand with Tampa and you fell in love, right? You had a one night stand. I love that so much. And you fell in love with the city.
Absolutely.
I love
that. I wanted everyone to move here. And then I created a Tampa page. So I run the YourTampaBestie page, the blog. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, all of the things. But I really wanted to show people that Tampa was so amazing. And I moved here because we only came here to visit for like 7 days, right? So I found a couple of places that I liked, but I didn't have an idea of all of the things that Tampa has to offer. And so when I got here and moved here, I had no friends, right? So I'm like trying to figure out how you create a community here when you're in your 30s. Like people create their community from school, from work. I don't work here and I don't go to school here and I'm working from home. And so it was just like, okay, you have to kind of craft and figure this out.
Right.
So I did a couple of meetup groups. And so I always tell people to do that. You do meetup groups, and I started going to restaurants just to eat, even if it was by myself. And I fell in love and I started creating content. So I already had a New York page and a travel page. So New York, I knew that I didn't want to stay in New York because I was never in New York. So I was traveling every other month.
Look at this. I love it so much. That's your Tampa bestie right there. Make sure you follow her IG. She goes around Tampa and she tells you all the good stuff. I mean, I've been here for 30 years and there's posts that you share, girl. And I'm like, what? That's where? I didn't know that. Like, straight up. Like, if you don't follow your Tampa bestie, follow her. She had a one night stand, fell in love with Tampa. Here she is, all around town, loving it, showing us where to go. And she's incredible. Like, you're really good at it. You're really good.
Thank you. And it's because I love it, right? So I started.
You can only, and let me say this because I need people to understand that. That's why you're so good, because the passion that you have for Tampa Bay, right? Even in New York, you really didn't want to be there. So you grew up there, you love the city, you'll always be home, right? But that it's a different kind of passion that you have for this city. And that's why you're able to go around and just share it with so much love because it means that much to you.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
And
that.
I've always been the person. So even in New York, I was always the person that someone would say like, "Oh, I'm going to this area. What's in there? What's good to eat? Where's good to go? Where's the vibe?" And I'm always looking for a vibe. So I'm looking for food and a vibe.
Yeah.
And that's really what led me and why I find all these places. And then I get to share them with my audience in different formats, the blog, writing it, and then a video, audio sometimes. And so, yeah, I absolutely love Tampa. And I echo all of the things you said. Like, you have everything here that you could ever want in Tampa. Like,
Yes. Yes. That's
amazing.
so good. That's so good. And so again, I'm going to plug this so much. Like right now, mi gente, listen, y'all know that most of the time I we promote people. That's what this is for. This platform is to promote people and show people. But I really love what you're doing and how you show our city, right? And you're one of the first ones to come on here that's doing that. So make sure you follow your Tampa bestie, like, comment, share, send her a DM. She will truly, truly appreciate it. Okay. And she'll truly, if you have somewhere that you think needs to be showcased on her page, let her know. She'll
Yes.
go visit, she'll check it out. She'll do all her, due diligence to give us and bring the heat like she always does. Go check her page. I'm not telling stories. Like, you'll love it. I fell in love with her page, and then I fell in love with her speaking at the creators conference, and I knew that she had to be here, which I'm also excited that this is your first podcast interview, isn't it?
Yes, you popped my cherry.
Yes. And let me tell you, Miha, you're a natural. Like, if I wouldn't have said that, no one would have known. Nobody would have known this is your first time. Okay. You are a natural on camera. All right. So
Okay.
I love that so much. And so let's talk about that. So how do you, now you love it, you started creating content, you're already growing it. How do you pick, like, what do you do? Do you, specifically have places? A lot of people request places for you to go to? How does that work?
Yeah. So it's a bit of all of the things now. So I
Okay.
have inbound requests from restaurants that are new that wants me to showcase items, and or they have a new menu that they want me to showcase. Or I have people who are gluten free or vegan or vegetarian, and they're like, "Hey, you didn't highlight any of these things. Are there any places that you think I should check out?" Or I have people that
Mm.
say, and I'm really trying to create a series around this because I get this question a lot, and it is I'm planning a bachelorette in Tampa, and I want to know the places to go. And the reason that
Mm.
it's taken me a bit longer is because there are so many different brides and so many types of things they may like. Some want to go to
Right,
the club, some want to go to the spa, and so it's just like
right.
figuring out how to create all of those for the different types of personalities that there are and who would want to have a bachelorette here. And so I'm going to be super excited to create that because I've gotten that question so much. And I'm like, Tampa is the perfect place to have a bachelorette.
Oh my goodness. Listen, y'all heard it here first. Coming soon. The Bachelorette Scene series. Y'all heard it here first on the show. Don't you forget it, okay? I love
Hold
that
me
so much.
accountable, y'all. Y'all got to
I
hold me accountable.
Yes, yes. Oh, we will, right? And I think it's great because you're right. There's so many different, like you said, clubs, painting with a twist, the spa. Maybe they want to do a little bit of everything, have a whole entire day, but to have that guideline, right? Because that's one of the things when I go to other cities, even here, sometimes I'm like, I want to do something different, but I don't know what to do, right? So to be able to have someone like you be able to say, okay, here's the research, it is done. This is where you want to go. This is where you're going to have a great time. It is definitely such a benefit to us, and we're super grateful that you take the time to actually go and do that. Now I do love the story that you told, like, I think it was either you had just started or it was one of your first times where you literally just were at a restaurant by yourself and you were like, I might as well just start recording this, and you just put a camera there.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So that was crazy. So now, but I'm so used to it that I ignore it. But so I got a lot of stares. So if you're doing any type of content outdoors,
Mhm.
like the supermarket, a restaurant, people cannot help but stare. And so sometimes
Mhm.
it is,
They're like,
yeah, sometimes it is a curious stare like, oh, what's that? But sometimes it's like, what's this girl doing and why does she think that she could be doing it, right? And so
Right.
there's a lot of it's almost like therapy of like, I can have space, I can show up, and I can have my light who is not
Mm.
bothering anybody
Mm.
and do what I need to do without
Right.
you being mad at me that I have a light on. Like, it's crazy
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
There are certain ambiances that a light doesn't make sense. We're
Yeah.
not talking about that. I'm talking
Yeah.
about a regular
Yeah.
mom and pop.
Lit up
Lights are on.
restaurant.
You can hear the trucks outside. Like, there's no
Right.
reason, right?
Right.
And I have my light, and the person is staring at me. So I don't remember what story you're talking about exactly, but I was traumatized because a man was like staring at me, like, and I couldn't figure out, is this a good stare, a bad
Right.
stare? Like, I had no idea. And I had like a reaction to it. And I like immediately wanted to put everything away, right? Like, okay, never
Mm.
mind. I'm not going to take this video. And I was like, you know what? I went to the bathroom. I collected myself together. And I was like, look, you are here to do a job, because essentially that's what it is, right? So
Right.
don't like the process of you creating content or showing yourself eating something or any of that. They want to judge that process, but in order for someone to create the video, that process has to happen. And that process
Right.
is the same process that happens when someone is creating a Netflix series. It's the same.
Yes.
There are
Yes. Yes,
people,
and it's actually worse because they shut down the city. Like,
right?
they'll only allow a certain amount of people, and they shut down stuff and put tape everywhere. So it's actually worse. But I want to bring something up, Jasmine, because I think this is really important for people to understand, especially if you're thinking of being a creator or anything, right? I think it's important for you to understand that most people, those same people, one, are the people that are watching and scrolling and liking and all of this stuff for hours and hours. Go check their feed, right? I guarantee you. And sometimes those are the people that want to do what you do, but they are fearful. They
Yeah,
don't know how to even, react. So when they see it, there's that envy, that little bit of jealousy that comes, or maybe that curiosity that looks creepy, and, or they put it into anger because, again, they haven't dealt with their self,
right.
right? And so here they are being angry at you, but really it's not you, it's them. They probably most likely want to be in your shoes, but they're unable to do so because they don't have that yet, right? Not that they couldn't get it, they don't have it yet. And so it's important to realize that when you want to do something, you have passion. I love that you said you went to the bathroom and you put yourself together. You could have walked out and we
Yeah,
would have never had your Tampa Bestie. And this couldn't have, because that, I guarantee you, had that moment when you had two choices, right? Had
right.
you went the other way, you wouldn't be where you are right now.
Yeah.
But because you like, nope, I got a job to do. I'm gonna get it done. That's why the opportunity grow, and you kept growing and growing and growing.
Mhm.
That's so
Yeah.
good, girl.
True.
That's
And
so
I
good.
I don't remember if it was that specific time, but there was another time that was like that, if it's not that specific time, where someone had like a face that was angry, and I did the video and I posted it and it went viral. Like,
Mm,
you never know, and it sounds so cliche to say, but like, you never know where your blessing is going to be on the other
yeah,
side of that hard thing,
yes.
uncomfortable situation, right? And so
Yes.
it's like, sometimes you got to have blinders on to be able to commit to the goal that you see for yourself, because
Yes.
no one else around you, even your friends, your family, they don't even
They
see
don't
that,
get it. They
right?
don't get it. It's hard,
And
but they
they
don't get it. You
do,
putting your business out. I've heard it all, girl. You
right?
putting your business out. When you keep telling your story, you want pity. Like, I've heard it all, girl. Okay. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm supposed to show up on my in social media every day. Like, no one see me because there's new people. Like, I'm trying to explain myself. And then I'm like, why? They don't understand. It's nothing against them. Some of them coming from the heart, thinking they're helping,
Yeah.
right? But they don't understand, right? But it's your vision. It's
Yep.
your goal, right? I could not judge you for what you're doing because that was not put in my life. Like, I love to do content, but I couldn't see myself going to like the restaurants and doing it as big as the way you do, right? And so it's just everybody has a vision of how you want to impact and
Right.
create. And I know that you've impacted a lot of people. And I want to mention this because this girl here, Sabrina, which is a good friend of mine, she's on Instagram and she's been commenting. Everybody's been commenting, first of all, this whole time. Nettie has been saying, "What a determination! That's a great movie that you didn't give up on your goals and your dreams in the midst of challenges." And this is earlier when we were talking. Someone says, "Love it. You're from BK." And then Sabrina was also saying, which she's Elite 813 on here. Our parents come from another mental era. Girl, ain't that the truth? Right. And so Instagram's comments are a little bit separate when I stream it this way. But she did say, I'm a wedding and an event consultant. So Sabrina, make sure you DM Jasmin, right? Because that's what this is all about, right? This is about connections. And if you can help her, and guide her in any way in reference to what she wants to do with the bachelorette scene, I think that would be incredible. You never know what could grow from that. So Sabrina, if you're still watching, which I'm pretty sure you are, make sure that you follow, like, and DM, your Tampa bestie so that you guys can connect on that side. Yes, I love that. I love it. I love it. And then of course, we're getting comments over here on Facebook. Too many more. Ant says all facts, and that's literally just a few minutes ago. So he's talking about what we're talking about now. And it's just people feeling it. They understand, they're loving the vibes. I mean, this is an incredible story. And so I commend you. And I want to know, I want people to understand that the resilience that you took from young age of saying, no, I'm not going to let this, I have things to do. I was told, I have people to prove, like I have, myself to prove, like I have so much, and just keep going, regardless of, even through your hard times, your drinking and all of these things, right, has taken you to where you are in these moments where people are watching you. And it's like, bro, like, you know what? I don't even want to hear. Like, my mom kicked me out when I was 18 and I'm standing here today. So like, tell me something that I don't know, right? Like, and so that growth is everything. And so tell me what is next. Now you're doing Tampa Bestie, you're killing it. You're growing. She does have an email list. Let me put that up here. It's also, we will put it into the, what is it called? I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on. I lost the
MediaMarketingConnect.com.
Yes, thank you. Oh, because I'm on the pictures one. My apologies. Here it is. MediaMarketingConnect.com. She has a blog. I get her newsletters all the time, and they come out and they're very informational. When it was the hurricane, listen, she was able to give us information that we weren't getting yet, right? Because we're so overwhelmed with trying to figure things out and watching the news. There was numbers, there was hotlines that she was giving out. There was certain things that were helping people connect in the Tampa Bay area that we, again, weren't receiving yet because we're just so focused on other things, right? So it's, while yes, it's all about the fun and stuff like that, she will give you resources and things like that. So definitely connect to this blog. Like, it's an incredible blog. You will not be disappointed, I promise you. We're also going to put the link for you guys in all of the comments, okay? But this is where you can go. It's simple. MediaMarketingConnect.com. Okay, just make sure you spell it right and you get it in there right. But and talk. So with that being said, talk to us.
Before
Go.
I'm glad that you brought up the hurricane stuff, because something that was really important to me is to give back to the community that I get so much from. And that's really what it was about. So it's about making sure that people who, and there were people in my DMs who had just bought a house and they completely lost their house. Like people have gone through so much the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yes.
The hurricane, both of the hurricanes.
We survived 2 in 13 days. Yeah, girl.
they really devastated our community. And so that's Tampa Bay, that's St. Pete. And, I talk about all of those
areas.
And so something that was super important to me was to connect myself with, there were hurricane relief people on Instagram, and connecting with smaller nonprofits that are doing direct services, so providing food and water. And so just making sure that, one, I was providing those resources to people, but also volunteering. So the past 2 weekends, I was making sure that I get out to help people, because there are people who don't have insurance. Their insurance companies are not giving them the money that they should be giving them. And it's a lot of people who are maybe they don't know English, or they're older,
Right.
senior citizens. And it's like people who are really, hurting from this. And so that's why I wanted to make sure that I provided these resources, and I will continue to do that on my Instagram, but also on my blog, because on the blog you can do a bit more thorough, reading. But yeah, I, if there is anyone that wants to connect, collaborate, wants me to show my audience anything related to the hurricane, to people who are hurting right now and figuring out a way to kind of connect them to who they need, please let me know. And yeah, I totally want to make sure that if I am receiving from a community, I am giving just as much as I'm receiving, because that's the only way we're gonna, make it through all
Make it through. Right. I love that. And you're so right. And it's true, because a lot of us, most of us only lost power. And I don't want to say only, because that was a hot mess too, right? However, now that we have it, we're back to our lives. But I have a friend, same way. She's, we have group on Wednesdays, and this women's group for church. And she's like, I can't come tomorrow. I have to be out of my apartment in 3 days. Like, I still haven't been approved for my other apartment. I don't know what I'm going to do. Please pray for me. Right. And I'm like, wow, here we are. Oh, we lost our power. We're back to our normal lives. But there's people still going through it. Like you said, insurance is not paying. They got to move. They don't know where to go, this and that, and so much happening. And so, thank you for that service, of course. And here is her Instagram again. And you can DM her for any resources, anything you need. And also getting into the Media Connect, where she'll be sending resources out. You'll be able to reply. If you need something, she can direct you as best as possible. And thank you for that, because that is an incredible thing that you're doing.
Of course.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, let's wrap up, because go ahead. You want to go ahead and say something?
No, I was just gonna say, so the MediaMarketingConnect.com is my newsletter. And so I give you what's going on in Tampa Bay, what's new, what events are happening in the coming 30 days. And also, if you're interested in being a creator, if you're interested in building a personal brand online, I've also started creating content for that as well, because that's another thing that I started getting asked a lot. Like, oh, how did you get into this? Oh, how did you start doing it? How did you approach this brand? How do brands approach you, and how do you respond? How do you negotiate, right? Because then when you get a certain amount of influence or brand recognition, now you have people that want to pay you for it, right?
Exactly.
And they want to get in front of your audience. And so now you have to kind of turn your lawyer hat on. And we already know I didn't want to do that.
Right.
You have to kind of figure those things out. So I'm also trying to help provide free resources and tips, all free. So that if you're interested in these things, you can have a checklist and you know the things that you have to do to get to the place that you want to be.
I love that. Listen, there's so many of us who you're right. And I say us because, it's out here free, willy-nilly, just dealing, right? We don't know, right? We don't know these things. Like, how do we reach out to a brand, or, if we're using them? I get people asking me all the time, do you have I'll post something for Amazon. Do you have an Amazon storefront? Do you have this? Do you have that? I'm like, no, I don't even know what that is. Like, yeah, I'm just posting, like, I'm just sharing my life, right? And so to have someone where we could stream like that, that's incredible. Jasmin, thank you so much for sharing that. You and I will have a conversation about that. But I love that you're able to take what you learn. And here, listen, oh my goodness, I love this. Y'all, we don't make this up. It is connected. It is divine. It is alignment. It's a big circle. What did she say at the beginning of the show? She was out there teaching people, right? Her friends on what to do, the next step, because she thought she wanted to be a teacher in life, right? And here she is now being able to take her passion, take a skill, something she's mastered, and now turn around and help you be successful at it. That's incredible. That is, I love when that happens, girl. I get goosebumps and stuff like that, because it's so good. It's so good. And here's the thing. Not that you're not special, because I say this all the time. We're special, right? But we're ordinary girls who made the extraordinary decision to believe in ourselves to a point to grow into our passions. And you can too, right? You're an ordinary girl. You don't know. You want to share content, but you don't really know. You feel weird on camera. But you got that calling. There's something in you that just keeps saying, do it, right? Make the extraordinary jump. Make the extraordinary decision to go for it, and let Jasmin help you on the way there. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So tell us what is next, Jasmin. We're gonna end with what is next, and then of course my last question that I asked everybody because we're running low on time here. What is next for your Tampa bestie?
Yeah, so what is next is that I am really trying to figure out how to help people who want to be creators. And so, I've had my blog for several years, my Instagram for several years, and it's just figuring out how to use all of my wisdom, expertise, and put it in a neatly laid out format so that you don't have to do all of the work that me
Right.
and other people have done, so that there is a clear path to the
Yes.
success, right? And so it's something that, so for me, what I'm really realizing now, and I stopped drinking, and in 2 months will make 2 years. And what
Amen.
transformed, thank you. What really transformed my life was stopping drinking, not drinking anymore, whatever. Becoming sober has really transformed my life because for me, right? Because there's nothing wrong with alcohol. I had a really unhealthy relationship with it. And what happened was that my brain was fogged a lot of the time, and my mental was always oh, where are we going to go where there is alcohol? Oh, we're doing Taco Tuesday, there's tequila shots. And it was like, oh, on vacation, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, 9 a.m., mimosas. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I didn't know how to turn that off. And that really stunted my growth a lot, right? And so for me, in these past 2 years, my mind has opened up to the potential that I can rise to. And that's why I have the blinders on now.
Yes.
Okay, it took me a hot minute to figure out my worth, to figure out that I can do this. And now that I'm on that train, we're not getting off. And so say that to say that something that I always try to tell people when people say, oh, I can't do what you do. One, you can, period. But two, people always combat me a bit when I try to tell them about building their brand online. And what I will say to you is this: you have a personal brand regardless of whether you realize it or not. So when you walk in a room, someone is making an assumption, a judgment, and a thought around who you are, why you're here, and what you are about. And so you don't try to take that seriously and be more thoughtful about how you approach things or how you walk into a room, right? Whether it's like looking up versus looking down, smiling versus not. People will make inaccurate assumptions that you don't want them to make, right? And so it's just about being more thoughtful about how you approach things in your life. And then you can apply that to online, and we can figure out how to help you create your brand. And so like people do this by themselves. Like you don't need a mentor or someone to help you. It just takes longer. And that's fine, right? So you really need to be thoughtful and write a list of like, who am I? Who do I want to become? What does the future look like for me? And how can I help myself get there? And so for me, that's my goal, to kind of help people realize that they are worthy, that they are enough as they are. You're a work in progress, and that's okay. And just figuring out how to show up authentically online, because I think that we're in a space where people think they have to look this way or do this way. You can be yourself, and that is enough. And that actually is the best way to be, because there's no one that has your juice. There's no one that has your right? You are one. So
I love that.
And I hope that everyone has a great night.
Listen, I don't even need to ask the question because you already answered it. So the last question is always like, if you had that one thing, you had 1 minute to tell someone the most thing that you would think, what would it be? Like, you just answered it right there. Like, you have the juice. Like, you are the juice. Like, you are your brand. Like, when you walk into something, like everything you just said ends and lines it up perfectly. Jasmin, thank you so much for joining. Oh, you're welcome. I'm so excited. I can't wait. We'll definitely have you back next year and see what 365 has brought you, right? And all the new things and the opportunities and the growth and the blessings that are coming your way. Because I just know you are an impact person, and that is why you keep growing, because you want to impact the community, you want to impact people, and you want to help people get to their next level and be their best selves. And that alone is going to bring you all the success. Okay, girl, all the success.
Same to you. And again, you know that I'm always like, I don't know how you do this because I'm scared to show up at this time every time, but you're killing it, girl. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you guys. So thank you so much for being on. Well, mi gente, that is another episode of the Speak Easy with Idylli show. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I humbly am honored that you take the time every single Tuesday, 8 p.m. EST, to join us here. I know you got value. I don't want to say I hope. I'm not trying to toot, but I know you got value. Go back to the recording. Go to the places where you need to. If you don't want to watch the whole thing over, that's fine. Write down those nuggets, take those nuggets, everything that you got value from, and apply them. I'll start applying them immediately, and I'll promise you, you'll see life change. Make sure you follow your Tampa Bestie. You DM her. Make sure you comment, like, and share. And that is the episode for tonight. I will see y'all next week. Good night.